In the opening scene, a couple goes up on the steep road that leads to Mount Jang. It's pitch black outside, and in the car, a madman drives and drinks a beer, sweating and shaking like a leaf. The woman in the passenger seat cries, asking how much longer they'll have to drive. It seems like he has had enough complaints and questions from her, and lashes out his fury at her. He loses sight of the road and ultimately hits a little dog that fatally crossed his way. The nerve-wracking situation gets more intense, and the woman can't help but sob. The driver stops the car and gets the dog by the neck. The animal doesn't move anymore. He throws it in the car's trunk, which isn't empty. The loud groaning coming from the bottom of the trunk makes him angrier. It's his wife, who's tied, hurt, and crying. None of what happened stopped them from getting to their final destination. The frightened woman waits for the man in the car, parked in the middle of the woods. He's out there breaking an ancient wall, God knows what for. His wife is on the ground, blood running on her face and eyes popping out of her head. As he breaks the wall, his partner in crime approaches. She can't stand staying in that car alone any longer. The mad husband is impatient and works fast to toss his wife into the hole. She is barely breathing when he finishes patching up the wall to make it look like nothing happened there. His partner doesn't quit crying, and that gets on his nerves. The woman can't handle having blood on her hands, literally. She's in a deep state of shock. He grabs her by the shoulders and takes her to the car, but the night in the woods brings some surprises for the criminal couple. Among the rustle of leaves, the man's heavy breathing, and his partner's crying, they hear the impossible, his wife's voice calling for him. She asks for his help, sending him and the crying lady deeper into a state of utter shock. He reaches out for the wall he just covered up, even though his partner begs him not to. He takes one of the loose bricks out, and a dusty and cold breath comes from the hole. His wife asks for his help again, and the man falls flat on the ground, completely astonished. The woman screams and begs for him to save her, but he neither can nor wants to help her. He's just shocked by the whole thing. The dusty and cold breath echoes through the dark woods, but the couple is no longer there. Far from the cold and dark Mount Jang, Hee-yeon observes her mother, Sun-ya, during a music therapy session. She tries really hard to be present for her sick mother, but her mind wanders around, imagining her son's whereabouts. After the session, Hee-yeon talks to the doctor about her mother's lack of progress. The frail woman is senile and needs round-the-clock care and attention. Hee-yeon and her husband, Min-ho, decide to move to the countryside, in the hopes that her mother can benefit from being closer to nature. The family of four, Hee-yeon, her mother, daughter, and husband, don't pack light. They bring everything with them, including their work subjects, dogs. Min-ho is a vet and currently takes care of a handful of furry friends, and they are his priority right now. Hee-yeon takes care of the boxes. Their little girl, Junhee, plays with her new favorite talking app outside by the pool. Sun-ya contemplates the forest in complete silence. She hasn't been talking much lately. From afar, a woman with a cane watches the family settle in their new home. The first night of Hee-yeon and her family in their new house seems to be cold and very windy. The grieving mother feels the strangeness of sleeping in a new place, and has unsettling dreams about her boy, Jeong-soo. The dream feels like a beautiful memory or a wish, but it only makes Hee-yeon sadder. The gray morning comes, and so does unpacking. Hee-yeon organizes things inside the house while Sun-ya takes some air outside, surrounded by all sorts of furniture. Her mind isn't sharp as it was, and when her granddaughter, Junhee, comes along, she believes to be her sister. The wind blows, and Sun-ya feels a chill come down her spine, grabbing Junhee's arm. She can hear them, the whispers coming from the forest. She takes Junhee by the hand and sprints back inside. At the grocery shop, Hee-yeon bursts into hope and expectation when she sees a little boy walking down the street. She runs after the boy, calling her son's name. Dozens of children pass by her, but none of them seem to be Jeong-soo. At home, Min-ho finds Hee-yeon unpacking boxes of leaflets with Jeong-soo's face on them. She's desperate to find her son, but Min-ho goes in the opposite direction and asks his wife to let go of the idea of finding the boy this way, since he disappeared 5 years before in Seoul. Min-ho reminds Hee-yeon of her meds, and she's brought back to reality, which makes her feel miserable. Something outside, by the dog's shed, gets Hee-yeon's attention. A boy and a girl stare at the dogs and hold handmade leaflets. They're looking for their dog, Teddy, that's been missing for a few days, and Hee-yeon happens to have a puppy that looks just like their beloved dog. She's sad to break it to them, but tells them that the dog's been with her family for a while, and that she hasn't seen any lost puppies recently. The girl gets distracted watching Hee-yeon bathing a cute golden retriever, and doesn't realize her brother isn't there with her. She finds him at the back of the house, at the same place Sun-ya was the other day, staring at the woods. He tells his sister he can hear Teddy barking, and off they go into the woods. At first, they don't find any animals, but come across an abandoned car with a broken windshield, with blood spilled over it. The hole in the wall waits for them patiently. The girl, as any good big sister, checks the wall, while her little brother waits behind her. Everything is incredibly dark, so she gets her phone in an attempt to use the flashlight, but the phone rings and it wakes up the evil creature that's been lurking there. Before she knows it, the girl is violently sucked into the deepest and darkest corners of the room, leaving her brother afraid and alone outside. The boy is terrified and can't hear his sister anymore. Despite his fear and tears, he gets closer to the hole, calling for her. No answers. Suddenly, he jumps back and falls. Someone, or something, almost got him by the arm. But he has nothing to fear now. It's his sister, shaken but alive. The terrified siblings run away. Minutes later, Ming-ho, Hee-yeon, and the scared little siblings are at the wall. The adults go there to make sure nothing can harm children, but they're frightened too. Hee-yeon's attention is elsewhere, at a small shed or a booth of some sort. She finds an old hand mirror wrapped with tapes all over it, and through the reflection, she sees a girl hiding behind a tree. Her instincts wash over her body and mind, and before she notices it, she's there talking to the girl. Ming-ho comes after her immediately and finds his wife talking to this strange little girl. She seems to be lost for quite some time, actually, considering her dirty, old clothes and face. The girl looks sad, really sad. They hear the siblings screaming for help, and Ming-ho goes back right away. Hee-yeon tries to leave, but the girl holds her, as if she's asking for Hee-yeon to stay. Ming-ho can't wait for his wife, and goes back to the wall. He goes into the hole this time, to make sure the siblings are wrong about the voices and whispers. But it feels like the darkness of that abandoned and crumbling room hides more than what Ming-ho and Hee-yeon can imagine. He tries not to show it, but Ming-ho is afraid of what he might find. He holds his flashlight so tight that even if a kitten jumped in front of him, he would scream and pass out. But nothing comes up from the shadows of that room. He turns to tell Hee-yeon he's found nothing, but he couldn't be more wrong. There's a door in front of him, a door that doesn't open, so he thinks it is okay for him to leave, but the door suddenly splits wide open and a woman comes out of it and attacks Ming-ho. Whether she tried to harm him or just ask for help, Ming-ho couldn't say, not at that dreadful moment, but it didn't matter because she didn't have much time to live. The next logical step is to call the police, and they storm into the woods with their detectives, coroners, and forensic teams in no time. It's only natural that the lead detective wants to question the couple since they found the place and the woman who was locked up there. Detective Kim assists the lead detective in this investigation. He's not much of a talking person, but observes every detail he can lay his eyes on, and that's a powerful combination. He walks around the place and spots a small piece of paper under a rotten wooden structure. It's a photo, a very old photo, of a man with a little girl in front of the wall the police are investigating now. The man in the picture doesn't look friendly, and the child seems to be sad and frightened. Kim looks around, but doesn't find the people in the picture. The police keep on scavenging for answers from Hee-yeon and Ming-ho, but she's had enough, and that environment doesn't bring good memories. The couple leaves the forest, but Detective Kim stays, wondering where the man and the girl from the picture might be. The wind blows, making the treetops dance, but it doesn't sound like gentle music. It's a spine-chilling one. The evening comes, and Hee-yeon unpacks boxes at home to keep her mind busy. But the wind brings something to her doorstep. The grieving mother hasn't seen her yet, but the wind chimes in front of her house, and in front of her neighbor's home to announce something bad is coming. The little girl from the woods knocks on Hee-yeon's door. Hee-yeon can't hold back the excitement of seeing that girl again. For her, taking care of and saving the child is like saving her own son. She brings the girl inside and shuts the door, ignoring her own gut feeling. Ming-ho arrives, and Hee-yeon tells him what just happened. She wants to keep the girl for the night. Meanwhile, Detective Kim dives into endless amounts of boxes with files and reports from the past few decades. He's determined to find out what happened in the woods. He finds out that the wall is the entrance of a cave and that, throughout the years, many people have disappeared there, and many others have said that they could hear voices and whispers calling for them. Kim's got a lot on his plate now. At home, Hee-yeon keeps trying to get the girl to say something about her, but the girl doesn't speak at all. She takes the girl for a bath. The girl seems to feel safe near Hee-yeon and her maternal instincts, but she still looks afraid of something. Her little body shows terrible marks. Junhee, Hee-yeon's daughter, comes in asking for her mom's help before bedtime. She reaches out for her kid, leaving the mysterious girl from the woods alone in the bathtub. She hears something calling for her, and it's not good. It's bedtime for the kids now, and Hee-yeon takes the mysterious girl to bed. Junhee's clothes are too large for her, so Hee-yeon unpacks an old pajama set that was Jang-soo's. Mother and daughter keep trying to get some information from the girl, and after many attempts, she speaks. The little girl calls Hee-yeon mom, and finishes saying that her name is Junhee, the same name as Hee-yeon's daughter. That's a breakthrough, but what a coincidence. It's morning again, and Hee-yeon wakes up from another dream of her sweet boy. The family gives the day a kickstart, but someone knocks on their door. It's the neighbor, the blind lady with a cane. She warns Hee-yeon and Ming-ho of the dangers the woods bring, but she isn't clear. Hee-yeon can't say for sure what that woman is trying to say, but it's clear to the couple that she's there to warn them of something dark. The woman leaves after apologizing, making the couple completely confused and worried. Upstairs, the mysterious little girl checks every box in the wardrobe to get to know this family better. She needs to know who they are, the way they live, and how they speak. She stops by the window and watches Ming-ho playing with his daughter. Such an innocent face. The family would never imagine the horrors that this little girl may bring into their home. Junhee is happily playing with her dad and the dogs. But upstairs, watching from afar, the little girl from the woods mimics her voice and laughter. It's a regular workday for Ming-ho. He works at the doghouse taking care of the animals. He hears his daughter giggling with the dogs outside. The girl asks her dad if she can give them a little cookie. Her sweet voice makes him giggle. That sounds like a classic Junhee request. But the smile fades from the man's face when, out of the blue, he hears Jang-soo's voice as if his lost son was there with them. A cold shiver comes down Ming-ho's spine. And when he finds the courage to look and check what's happening, he doesn't see Junhee or Jang-soo. There she is, the mysterious little girl from the woods, dressed like his daughter and speaking like his daughter. Needless to say, the situation is disturbing, but Ming-ho tries to move on with his day as if nothing happened because, for him, it's easier to pretend than to ask himself what's going on. Detective Kim is at the police station interrogating the man that ignited this nightmarish chain reaction. The man who left his car near the cave entrance after dumping his wife and a little dog in the cave. He interrogates the man about the abandoned car and the deceased woman he found in the cave. He needs to understand the connection between them, but the man doesn't seem to be paying attention at all, and on top of that, his eyes feel funny. He can't see things very well, everything is a blur. He's shaking, sweating, and uncomfortable and looks absolutely scattered. He hears something calling for him. The impossible happens. He hears his wife's voice calling him, inviting him to get into the cave with her. Detective Kim can't really understand the man's erratic behavior, but he knows the man isn't well. It's bedtime at Hee-yeon and Ming-ho's home. Hee-yeon puts her daughter and the girl from the woods to sleep. She watches the frightened little girl breathe safe and sound, sure that she made the right decision when she took her in. For a fleeting moment, Hee-yeon feels truly happy. Before she leaves the improvised bedroom, the little girl grabs Hee-yeon by the coat and begs for help. She's having a bad dream. Hee-yeon caresses her little hand until she calms down and then leaves. That was another move the girl from the woods played to lure this woman into her trap. There was no nightmare. The girl is wide awake. At the police station, Detective Kim and the scattered man take a break from the interrogation. The man splashes some water on his face, but he can't get rid of the voice of his wife begging for help. He looks at himself in the mirror, trying to hold on to what seems to be the last thread of sanity that's left in him, but as he turns around, he finds himself in a bedroom staring at a closet. His wife's voice comes back to torment him. Handprints scratch the closet mirror next to him, but from the inside. That's the last drop for the scattered man. He collapses, and something takes him away. Before the sun comes up, the girl from the woods goes to Sunya's bedroom, imitating her brother's voice. Downstairs, in the kitchen, Hee-yeon makes breakfast, and Ming-ho gets ready to take their daughter to school. Before leaving, he shares with his wife his concerns about the little girl, but Hee-yeon prefers to shield herself from that conversation. In her bedroom, Sunya can't explain, but she can hear her brother whispering in her ear, inviting her to join him in the woods. The senile old lady has never been so frightened. It's time for the little girl's breakfast, but Hee-yeon can't find her. She hears a dog crying in a closet, and finds the scared little dog and the girl. Everything happens really fast, and before she gets any answer from the girl, Sunya storms into the bedroom with a knife. The only thing standing between the old lady and the child is Hee-yeon, who's terrified by the sudden attack. Hee-yeon runs away. She finds the little girl hiding with the dogs. They break into tears, and, for Hee-yeon, that moment cements their relationship as mother and daughter. Ming-ho can't accept his wife's actions, but also fears for her sanity. Hee-yeon doesn't care what he thinks. The bond between the strange child and the desperate mother grows stronger, and Hee-yeon tells the girl the story about Jiang-soo. Sunya was the last person that saw Jiang-soo the day he disappeared, but her mental condition doesn't allow her to describe what happened. Ming-ho hears Hee-yeon talking to the girl and decides to take her mother, Sunya, away from that house. It's clear to him that Hee-yeon can't deal with things right now. They argue about it. The whole family cries. It's hard for Ming-ho to admit, but he feels that their son can't be found anymore. Later that night, Sunya is tormented by the whispers and voices calling for her. She ultimately gives in and walks into the woods. The next morning, no one can find Sunya, and things get weirder when Ming-ho finds handprints on a mirror that had been covered in tapes. It's time to call Detective Kim. As if the situation wasn't dramatic enough, it's pouring outside, and all Hee-yeon worries about is finding the little girl from the woods because she also vanished from the house. She gives details about the girl, and Detective Kim puts some pieces together, but they shape a puzzle that doesn't seem to make sense in his mind. There are no complaints about a lost girl named Junhee in the area. Kim shares his findings with Hee-yeon and shows her a picture of a man holding a girl's hand. The girl matches her description, and, much to Hee-yeon's shock, Detective Kim reveals that the picture and the case aren't new. Hee-yeon leaves everything behind and faces the heavy rain to find the little girl. Hee-yeon is surprised by her neighbor, the blind woman. That's a turning point in Hee-yeon's life. Detective Kim keeps digging up information on the disappearance of the little girl from the woods. The neighbor, Kim Moon-ayo, reveals the legend of a ghost that imitates the human voice to trap its victims in the cave. The spirit, in the shape of a tiger, puts a spell on a shaman that becomes its servant. The shaman had a family, a wife and a daughter. His wife couldn't bear to see her husband taking the life of their dog and using its voice, and left. The little girl now stays with her, and things just get worse for her. The dark spirit takes over the shaman's soul and demands sacrifices to grow stronger. The ritual is overwhelming and definitive for the shaman and his daughter. After that intense ceremony, both father and daughter are never found again. Kim Moon-ayo warns Hee-yeon of the perverse nature of the little girl. The entity uses her to suck the energy out of those who fall under her spell until they have nothing left to live for. She chooses the most vulnerable ones, like Hee-yeon. Kim Moon-ayo gives her an amulet that's supposed to protect her, but the chimes in the woman's home warn them that it might be too late. The real Junhee wakes up feeling strange. There's something wrong with her eyes. She looks for her mom and hears her voice coming from the bathroom. But before she comes in, The image of an evil man coming out of the mirror terrorizes Junhee, who runs away to the dog shelter. The girl from the woods finds her and imitates her mother's voice to trap the girl and take her to her vicious father. Hee-yeon is on the brink of a collapse. She finds her daughter hiding in a closet, and the girl from the woods is with her. Hee-yeon talks to her, trying to find out where Sun-ya and Ming-ho might be, but before the girl tells her anything, she makes Hee-yeon promise her that she'll always be by her side. Hee-yeon shields her daughter, Junhee, from the outside world and locks her in her bedroom, protected by the amulet her neighbor gave her. Hee-yeon is ready to follow the little girl into the cave. The dark hole goes deeper and deeper, and doesn't seem to have an end. Up to that point, Hee-yeon's sight is failing her. The desperate mother and the little girl are terrorized by the voices and screams coming from the darkest depths of the cave. The disgusting figure of the shaman, rotten and hungry, makes them run even further into the cave. Hee-yeon's losing her mind. The shaman gets close and takes advantage of the fact that Hee-yeon is losing her grip on reality. But miraculously, Ming-ho comes out of the shadows to save her. At that point, he's already blind. The little girl hides from the spectrum of her father. His plan is to get Hee-yeon to find a spot where the phone signal works so she can call for help, but the dreadful spirit of the shaman hunts them. Hee-yeon now faces a dramatic reality: to leave that place with her husband or stay in the cave with the little girl, after promising the little girl she would never abandon her. The couple finds the stairs that lead them back to the woods. But when Hee-yeon hears the voice of her lost son, she leaves her husband and goes back into the cave, to stay with the illusion that fed her broken soul and heart. Ming-ho finds the way out, and Detective Kim is there to help him. Both Hee-yeon and the spirit of the little girl from the woods fade into darkness. The voice of her lost boy, Jiang-soo, echoes through the dense forest, now covered by snow. He sounds happy to have his mother again. Even though Hee-yeon knows what her decision will cost her family, she finally feels to be where she belongs, next to what sounds and feels like her son, and away from endless guilt and sorrow.